Hi there, folks. You even haven't heard what I'm telling you, so. The good news is being a speaker means I can do it without mask, so I have a competitive advantage towards you guys. I really enjoy the next 20 minutes breathing, and hopefully I can give you some interesting insights in what we have been developing over the past, almost 5 years. And by the way, that's the first time we're showcasing this to the public, and I'm more than interested in the feedbacks, and I hope we get to a Q&A where I get some questions at least. So what are we talking about? We call it Digital Iris Insights. Yeah, there is another small company that has also the insights in its mission statement. But for us, Digital Iris is the interface between the human being and the digital content that in the future will be projected into your field of view. So typically head-worn devices, smart glasses. And we do believe that the eyes are the most intuitive interface. And for the first time ever, I'm not talking about visions or things we intend to do. We truly have it here, and it's working as a sample, as a prototype, and that's why it feels different for me now to be here on stage. So, hello. As I've been introduced, we are Viewpoint System. What means we are a Austria-based company in Vienna, is our headquarters, so European. We are fully vertically integrated. That means we do embedded, we develop the software, the hardware, and even the manufacturing takes place in-house. That gives us a huge flexibility when it comes to adapting new ideas and shortening innovation cycles. We have two strategic business units. One is we are an OEM, so we manufacture our own eye tracking glasses. And now, as of the next year, we are going to become a B2B2C company as well, with a business unit, meaning we provide a technology to hopefully many other smart glass manufacturers out there. And that's exactly what I'd like to talk with you today. Just shortly to wrap you up, we are not a PowerPoint slide-based company. We have true customers. So we get the most important thing you can get, voice of the customer, feedback from the market. Currently it's B2B. That means some of the clients have been noted, and we have 5 verticals we're currently serving. It's authorities, it's healthcare research and analysis, it's mobility, transport, and manufacturing. And basically the use cases are always the same. It's about remote support, remote maintenance. It's about training, documentation. So in a nutshell, one of the major advantages we are having, we are not sensitive to changing light conditions. That means our technology works under any given light condition, which makes us perfectly fit for mixed reality applications of the future. We have a scientific background, so we are a spin-off of a university. And it was all about human viewing, behavior, and understanding it. So basically, where we do come from is not from the technology point of view. It's we understand how the human being is using the eyes, and for that we developed the technology. So that's a bit of a different approach. We don't believe that technology will solve everything, because basically what we are coping with is 2.5 million years of evolution. And honestly, I don't know how you guys see it, but just because you have technology doesn't mean that the human being is going to accept it. And there we have a different take. We come from the human being, and then we try to find a way how we can make it useful for everyone. Now, this is our social media star. I haven't an English description. It's called Glubschi. We put that onto our LinkedIn account, and I think we had 18,000 or 19,000 views. It was like surprise. Glubschi is basically a test tool we have to improve the algorithms to better understand how human viewing behavior can be digitized. And why has Glubschi such an important factor in our R&D? because the eye is a universal language. There are no dialects, basically. It's not like when you go to voice recognition, you have to cope with 3,000 Chinese dialects, and my own dialect, I have a specific German dialect, which basically no other German party would understand. So I always encounter the same thing. I get into my car, I try to get the GPS data in there, and she constantly asks me, please say again, I didn't understand you. And that's why Glubschi, once again, for us is the universal language transmitter. If we can make Glubschi use eye tracking, we can make it everyone on the planet using as well. And because it's a scarce thing, the eye tracking part, there are just a few companies out there doing it truly. We just believe that the technology as such is so important that it should be available for everyone, and it shouldn't be just in a closed environment, closed ecosystem. And that's why please meet our Digital Iris Insight technology. The idea behind it is that we integrate our technology, our optical sensors, plus our light sources, like a nose pad, because basically what we anticipate is that everything, geez, that was too quick. What we anticipate is that you will have glasses in the future. Honestly, I don't know when exactly. It might be 2025, it might be 2028. Honestly, no one really can tell you. But it will be worn on your nose. That's why we said, okay, why don't we come up with a sensor module that serves as a nose pad and the rest is built around, and basically you can integrate it into any glasses you are developing or you are intending to develop. So the blue stuff, that's exactly our module, and that's the eye sensor module. We are also showcasing at our booth, by the way, so everyone that's interested from tomorrow on, drop by and have a look. What are the parameters? First of all, it's standardized, it's robust, it's ready to use. It's nothing we need to develop for you. Yes, we could customize it for the market if there is the necessity. But basically, we brought all the know-how and all the use cases so far we know into that module to make it available for the market. Standard interface, up to 240 frames per second, low power consumption. We are using an optical stack there, and that's our standard approach to the market, where we'd say, okay, if that doesn't work, we can customize, but we are pretty sure that it will cover most of the bases when it comes how to use eye tracking as a human-machine interface. The processing of the data we gather, it's on the glasses we are integrated to, so we are kind of using their processing power in a container, so the algorithm, everything run on that system, and we only provide the data from the eyes. We do the processing on the host system, meaning on the smart glasses we're integrated in, and you get your interface between the human being and your glasses. So we try to standardize as much as we can, knowing that we won't truly fit into every potential solution out there. That once again, this is our standard, but as we have the whole technology stack in our hands, we are super optimistic that we always can adapt and customize to the needs of our clients. And one of the things what I mentioned, the best technology is the technology you can't see. It just happens to be there and it works. And using it like a nosepad means it's invisible. You don't see it, so you don't start acting awkward, and it's not obstructing your field of view. And that's why it can be easily integrated and nicely integrated in glasses, and hopefully in a few years in glasses like this one. Now, for us, we are not covering all the bases here, but let's just discuss a few XR cases where we believe that eye tracking is making or is having a great impact. Now, this for me is not something that is achievable for me, hyperreality is a nightmare. So I'm constantly struggling with the general idea that everything in the real world is overlaid. I just don't believe that's the way human being will able to cope with. They just can't. Once again, coming from the background, you always see that our information, it is highly, highly individual. 3 different people walking down the same street, starting at the same point, ending at the same point. One is looking at food, another one is looking at a woman, a third person is looking at clothing. So why should I now provide the same overlays to everyone walking down that street? I purely don't think that that does make sense. And this is just to give an example. This is what we are told how the future will look like. We have displays and we are having projections in there. And for me, this is hurtful because it kind of suggests that you can use your eye separately. And with the left eye, you check the things on the left display, and with the right eye, you check the stuff on the right display, and your brain will all sort it out and you're good to go. It ain't gonna happen. It's just not happening. This will bring you in a catatonic shock because your brain can't process all the information. And secondly, you will instantly be pulled out of the physical reality. So no chance you can walk a single step or operate a piece of equipment or drive a car or ride a bicycle. Forget it. And that's kind of a bit, I mean, I love the industry, but I'm struggling with the idea, what is promised, and it's about managing expectations. And last but not least, about human viewing behavior. And once again, 2.5 million years of evolution, you can't really just believe it's gone. It will stay longer than your technology, that's for sure. So that's one of the reasons also why we believe that eye tracking has a huge impact. That's also one of our approaches. We say, okay, if you have floating information and you're also in the physical reality, then one of the most tiring thing to do for your eyes is focusing and refocusing and focusing and refocusing. Because basically every time you lose connection to the one thing you're looking at, either the virtual world or the physical world. That's why with our technology, we will push, if you have a 3D display in the future, push the information at the depth you're looking at. Meaning, only the information you're interested in, only the information that you are truly looking at and you would like to understand. And that's why where your gaze vectors intersect, these are the two yellow lines, that's the depth at which you're looking at. Because it's pretty simple. You have one starting point, a second point, that's the middle of your eye, and where your gaze vectors intersect. So you can do in 3D, get a spatial mapping, and you know at which depth you're looking at. And now, if you push the projection into the depth you're looking at, you cope with the constant focusing and refocusing. Plus, you only get the information you're interested in, and not just everything the front sensor is capable of identifying. So there, like I said in the intro, we have a different approach, where we believe that's more suitable to human needs than just slapping overlays at someone. I think everyone who is a bit in this area of eye tracking does exactly know these three levels. First of all, human eye, just very shortly, at an arm's length, your thumbnail, that's your foveal area, that's where your eye has the highest resolution. Meaning, that's where you can perceive information. What's the difference between seeing and perceiving? Basically, every human being, while using the eyes, goes to 4 levels. It's always the same thing: seeing, perceiving, identifying, deciding. That's what we constantly do, everyone. Why? Because if all the information the human eye is capable of delivering to the brain, we would shut down. So we have a firewall, and that's perception. What are we interested in? And if you remember the 3 persons walking down the same street, different areas of interest, different perception. And that's exactly to know where perception is possible, we talk about an area that's 2 degrees. Then we have parafoveal, that's 10 degrees. That's where your brain mimics things and tells you, yeah, you can see it, but basically you can't. It's form, contrasts, and colors. That's what you are able then to process. And everything else is peripheral, where you just act. It's fight or flight. And that's the build-up. And this is why it's used as foveated rendering, because basically everything you are able to show up there is not of interest for the human eye. So this is one of the basic applications for eye tracking today in the VR environment. It's just optimizing computing power and not having to render in 4K everything that's out there. You just render that stuff what the user is interested in. And we just think that when it comes to mixed reality, then you're not in a controlled light environment. And once again, that's where we come into place with our technology, that we're not sensitive to changing light conditions. Then things like eye gestures. You could trigger, or you can trigger stuff. You just do unnatural eye movements like up or left. You never do it. That's how you trigger, turn on the video or do facial recognition of the person opposite me or show me the phone directory or whatsoever. So you can customize this interface to how you would like to have it working. And then the most important part, and that's basically what's the core of digital iris. Now we have talked a lot about conscious-driven stuff. What we are truly interested in is the unconscious decision-making process. Because when you understand, remember, seeing, perceiving, identifying, deciding, we try to work out the algorithms, and not we try, we will, to understand what you are currently feeling, and it's not only what you're seeing. Because I think it's a saying, the eyes are the mirror of your soul, so you get a lot of information back. That gives you a clear idea how the human state is in a certain period of time. And that's also part of the interface, because then you can provide information without actively asking for them. And that means at the end of the day, the eyes are the interface, but the mind becomes the selector, whether you are consciously doing it or whether it just happens. And that's where we're in for the long haul. I said it in the beginning, and I'd just like to reiterate on it. It's about the human being that should be in the focus and not technology. And that's exactly where we try to come from the eyes and tend to design and engineer the technology around. Now, having the eye sensor module, we already have 2 further all-in-one modules lined up. One is a bit further down the road. That's the gaze tracking module. Honestly, 5 to 8 years, 4 to 7 years, we will find out, because we need to go down to silicon level. We need to find partners. We are already in a huge project with 20 partners, but we don't know yet. That's true research, whether it's going to work out or not. So that's the highest integration, standalone module, where everything will take place on this module. So I don't need a host system. I purely need something, how to put it on my nose, basically. And what we are already planning is the pupil tracking module, where we have partly using infrastructure of the host system, but where the processing already takes place in our module. So these are the 3 different levels. So we start with the rather simple, but available technology, and the next 2 generations with pupil tracking module and the gaze tracking module. And how could that look like? A gaze tracking module could be something you click onto your glasses, and it's standalone, and you find a way how wirelessly supply power to it. And that's stuff, it's happening. So this is nothing we're going to invent. Hopefully someone else out there will find a solution so that we don't need to have a cable dangling from our head. But that could be a pretty cool thing when you say, okay, today I need it, I want it or not. You just click it on or clip it on when you need it. Or this is now the gaze tracking module, including a front camera, that can be integrated into safety glasses as an example. Same thing, challenges, how the data is not that much the challenge, but rather how I do get the power supply up there. So I'm telling you, we haven't solved anything yet. That's also a bit the shout out to the ecosystem to come up with solutions we can piggyback on, because that's nothing we are going to develop in-house or on our own. And then last but not least, why not having a solution that can be worn on your nose? Why not? I mean, I don't know whether this is going to be a huge success. It feels awkward wearing it, so we have that also 3D printed. It's honestly, it's a bit, I don't like it, but still, it could be an option. It could be an option as well. So it's about trying and figuring out the way how it's supposed to be, and hopefully others from the ecosystem join and give us feedback what they need. And that's basically the last. Wow, I'm pretty good in time. Ooh, that's new to me. It's really about this human-machine interface aspect, and if there are people in the audience that could contribute to it, have an idea, then please come to our booth 518 in the expo area. Thanks very much.
Well, thank you. Any question? Any question?
Hi, Nils. All of this looks fantastic. I think eye tracking is underestimated in how powerful it's going to be in the future. This morning, John Henke talked about let's all build an ecosystem, that is for good. This is one of the areas I think there's a ton of potential for things to go horribly wrong. So, in terms of what you guys are doing, how do you prevent actors from using this, even customers using this in ways you don't really intend for it to happen?
How much time do we? It's honestly, it's between a rock and a hard place. You're absolutely right. Bad actors would use it for bad stuff because you get pristine emotion which cannot be manipulated by yourself because it's hardwired with the oldest part of your brain. So yes, so we have not yet a final solution yet. The first step, what we are intending to do is that it's you that chooses how to parameterize the system. But anyone else, I don't know, I don't want to drop names, but any one of the big companies that are a bit further, a few miles up the road to the south, they might be super interested in what pure emotion and pristine virgin emotion they could grab. At the end, I do believe there is a trend that us, the people, are starting to kind of develop some feeling again what's supposed to be shared or not. So at the end, it's a bit like the example with the gun. It's not guns that kill people, it's people that kill people. I know it's a lame comparison. We are aware that we haven't solved it yet. We just know it's an area that's super interesting, and it will unveil many things about the human being. But honestly, I don't have a blueprint yet. The only thing is that I hope that consumers, users are getting sensitive again and sensible again about how to feed systems and whom to give away the information. And then at the end, that's the choice they are going to make. So honestly, that's for me a tough thing. We are constantly thinking about that topic, but we haven't got a blueprint how to solve it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hi. So you mentioned the depth tracking with the information and relying mostly on binocular vision, but we have monocular depth clues as well. Sorry, here.
Sorry.
So you mentioned like the depth tracking and trying to display information where things are intersecting, but there are individuals who only have one eye, and they don't have any problems detecting depth. So
Yeah.
can you talk a little about like monocular depth systems versus the biocular system?
Well, basically, there is a showstopper for eye tracking. If you have a lazy eye, you can somehow anticipate what the second eye might do, but if you truly only have one eye, then as in real life, we can't make it better because that would be based on knowing already what's going to happen. So there are limitations today. There might be machine learning models how to cope with that, but honestly, we can't make things better what the physiology of the human, yeah, we could to a certain extent, but there are just limitations to it. And especially with the eyes, it's truly tricky. So we need those two eyes basically, and at least we need one properly to create a redundancy. If one eye is missing, then there is a lot of assumption involved. But we are, with our advanced technology team, we're exactly working on these kind of topics to find models how we could cope with that, because otherwise we're going just to miss 15–20% of the population out there, and that's a fact. So it would be not wise to develop a technology just for 75–80% of the population. So we are aware of it, but it's challenging. Sure.
Oh. Hello.
Oh.
I have a very practical question, which is compared to the eye tracking on a HoloLens 2 or a Magic Leap 1, where does your technology, like, is it substantively different, or, you know, can you comment a little bit about those are already available systems, they work, you can do basic interfaces like you're talking about, but is there something they're missing, or is there something that you're bringing, you know, help us understand a little bit about that?
Honestly, I don't know whether they are missing something or we are missing something. I'm not so arrogant that I would judge upon the other technologies. It's just we have chosen a different approach, and it starts that we have an optical sensor. And I once again stress the fact that we are not sensitive to changing light conditions. So we are not working with reflections on the eyeball, as an example, or in the HoloLens case with a laser. And then we're talking about things human beings don't want to have a laser pointed towards their eyes. That's a human thing. That has nothing to do with me saying good technology, bad technology. So I think we just had luck and a good timing, and we did some good decisions and some not so good, but it paid out. And basically now the core is that we have a few patents which are super strong because the eye is a limited area. So you can't just come up with 85 new possibilities how to understand how your eyes are moving. And that's what sets us apart. And secondly, like the HoloLens, it's only limited to what's happening on your display. And we come from how to interact with the physical world. And then basically we add on this additional layer, and then how to interact with the virtual information as well. So honestly, I hope we did some better decisions like the others, but future will tell whether this is going to be the breakthrough.
I guess just really
technology.
quickly to follow this up is that my question would be those kinds of interfaces you're talking about, do you think we could successfully prototype them, let's say, on a HoloLens, or have you noticed that there's a bit of a disconnect? They're not quite able to get to what we want, which is this natural look show type of thing.
The question was whether we can prototype it.
Yeah, like okay, so if HoloLens 2 maybe has limitation, but can we get
for
there?
us? I mean, we developed the software that's API driven. So basically, we generate data from the eyes, and we provide another system to work with that data, and the other way around. So for us, integrating that into any other system, that's exactly what we are intending to do with it. So the idea is we provide the eye data, the stuff we're good at, and how it's integrated and how you interact, that's something then that takes place in the process with the partner. So yes, we can integrate it into other devices.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks.
That's the whole idea,
Well,
basically.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please give him a round of applause. one last question, but we are short of time.
Ah,
Last question, last.
famous
Thank
last
you.
words.
Your technology is very interesting, but
Thank you.
it comes with a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
You assume that most people will be wearing glasses in order to support your contraption. What do you think of technology development where people correct their eye defect and wearing glasses is becoming subdued?
First, there is a demographic effect taking place, and that the percentage of people that have to use correction lenses every year gets bigger. So now we are way over 50%. So that trend is working into or towards our assumption that everyone is sooner or later wearing glasses. The second thing is, I don't have with me, but we are also wearing the smartphones with us, and we do believe that the use of smart glasses in the future will look like this as well. You don't need it, you don't use it. You wear it here or not. It looks like, the stuff was just brought out by Snap or from Facebook. That's the form factor where everyone is aiming at. And then basically, I believe, that's my personal belief, that you use it as a smartphone and you put it on your nose when you need it. And if you're someone like me that it needs correction lenses, you will have it on your face not 24/7, but as long as you're awake.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.